The rock of the region, Night Rock.
Meet me in the kitchen, baby, 8:30. Meet me in the kitchen, baby, don't be late. Meet me in the kitchen, baby, what do you say? The kids are all sleeping, we can't slip away. Meet me in the kitchen, honey, I can't wait. We'll cook us up some dinner, honey, yeah, just me and you. Stir up something special, kinda like we used to do. Open all the cupboards and see what we got. Toss it down, mix it in, then kick it up a notch. Meet me in the kitchen, baby, just me and you. I'll meet you by the island, spin you around the floor. Love you till the sun says it's dark no more. Kiss you by the refrigerator, kiss you by the door, kiss you by the oven, baby. Then I'll kiss you some more. Meet me in the kitchen, baby, we'll get the pot to boil. Meet me in the kitchen, honey, pour the olive oil. Creme brulee, cheese souffle, fricassee or stew, apple pie, jambalaya, anything will do. Just meet me in the kitchen, mama. Spin you around the floor, love you till the sun says it's dark no more. Kiss you by the refrigerator, kiss you by the door, kiss you by the oven, baby, then I'll kiss you some more. So meet me in the kitchen, honey, what do you say? Come on. Till the sun says it's dark no more. Kiss you by the refrigerator, kiss you by the door, kiss you by the oven, baby, then I'll kiss you some more. Oh, meet me in the kitchen, baby, yeah, choose your favorite spice. I'll turn the oven on, pour the wine, put the shrimp on nice. A 30-minute meal for your man tonight. We got the time, we got the place, the mood is just right. Meet me in the kitchen, darling, don't think twice. You've been working all day, I've been working every night. Keep her all sleeping now, mama, it'll be alright. So meet me in the kitchen, baby. Come on and meet me in the kitchen, honey. Come on and meet me. Come on and meet me. Try something new. Baby, me and you. Maybe a new fondue. Maybe a cordon bleu. Let's cook it, baby. The Rock of the Region, X-Rock 1039. Meet me in the kitchen, mama. Bernie Glim and Country Roads Band. I was spending Friday night over at Northwood Saloon with them, and I thought that song was all about getting jiggy with it in the kitchen, and it turns out that it's just about cooking. Yes, indeed. Bernie Glim.
Cooking as in food.
As in food, that's right. No cooking in the kitchen in the way I'd like to. Fun with food, as they say.
Fun with food.
Fun with food can be fun.
Yeah.
All right, they did that song on Friday on stage at the Northwood show, and it's off their brand new album called Playing to Win. And we debuted this on the show, and we had Bernie and your dad was actually with us that day.
Yes, he was.
Neil Holmquist. He's the drummer of the band, and Neil was here. And we were talking about the big Kansas show with Bernie Glimm, and we had Ara, and we had Hartsfield was on the date, and just all kinds of stuff. And it was a fundraiser, a benefit to help out your mom.
That's right.
We had a great night that night, and a lot of spirituality in that room. Paul, you were there.
Oh, yeah,
you?
I was.
You took pictures. That's right.
That was an amazing night.
Wasn't it? It was.
There was the amount of love in that room just from everybody.
It was a very moving night. I mean, I've seen a lot of great bands, many bands on one stage, and they're always a lot of fun to do. But I mean, we got up there and did "Your Love Is Lifting Me Higher," the old Jackie Wilson song, as the encore, and we all got up and jammed together on the stage, and it was just cool. I mean, there's Bernie Glimm singing lead with the guys at Kansas is standing there, Billy Greer's standing there, and it was just crazy.
It was.
Hartsfield's up there, and Eric, you're up there beating the drums with your dad. Both of you sharing the drums, and playing tambourine and singing back up.
Complete kudos to the guys from Kansas, too. For me, it is a international band, and they came out to help because of, their friends.
That's right.
I mean, it was a cool thing. Man, what a night.
That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
But,
it was family, too. I mean, those guys, they're family.
Absolutely.
They're all family now. So it's, I thank those guys a million times for coming out, and... it wouldn't have been what it was without those guys, I think.
Right. We had a great turnout. And again, if you're joining us right now, this is the Night Rock Show. My special guest that dropped in by surprise with us this evening is Eric Holmquist, drummer, percussionist of Kansas, and he's sitting in before he leaves on tour again. So we're talking about the benefit concert that was held, what was that, about 2 months ago? Month and a half?
Yeah, November 18th it was, I believe.
Wow. Man, that was such a good turnout.
Yep.
Loved it. Bernie Glimm, Country Roads, the song we just heard there, Meet Me in the Kitchen, off the Playing to Win album. The drummer of that band just happens to be Eric's dad, Neil. And we've talked about this before, but Neil is an amazing drummer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I
learned a lot from him.
No slouch. That's what I was going to get to. How much did you actually learn from your dad? And did you take up playing drums because of your dad, or was it just something you wanted to do?
I remember playing drums when I was about 2 years old. My dad got me a real drum set. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to see his band play a lot. He was in a Yes tribute band called Drama. And
I remember that band.
Yeah, and they were great.
Forgot about them.
They were great. And I've learned a lot from my dad. I really have. And I mean, of course, I've took lessons with Bill Romer from Freak Johnson, Scotty Bonshire, the drummer for Hartsfield. And it's just, going to different concerts and stuff, you pick up a thing, here or there.
Right.
But I mean, I just going to the NAMM show out in California. That's always cool. Different clinics, but I've learned probably 80% of my stuff from my father.
Wow. Very good. How much have you learned from Phil sitting in with Kansas?
Quite a bit, actually. Quite a bit.
That's kind of weird because, normally you see someone that is a founding member of a band like that. They don't want to give up the spotlight. But he's been very generous. It's like inviting you up. You're the new guy in the band. And saying, hey, come on in, sit up here. And you guys share a lot of the dual leads and stuff.
Yeah. Phil, I've been, a fan of Kansas since I was 6. And I've known those guys since I was about that age. So for me, it's a dream come true to be playing with your favorite band of all time. Mm-hmm. And, when I get up there to play with Phil, it's kind of nerve-wracking at the same time because it's like, all right, I got to follow him. Mm-hmm. I got to do what he does, and if I fall off off key, I'm going to look pretty stupid up there. Right. So we pretty much play the same thing though on the same songs every night. So we're not ad-libbing, we're not having to worry about if we play something extra, getting, falling back into the same, something like that. So we pretty much play the same exact thing every single night.
One thing I never quite understood is we hear all the kudos for bands like Yes and Genesis and Rush and all the great prog rock bands of rock and roll, and they're all very talented. But Kansas, for some reason, seems to stay under the radar as far as getting the props that I think they deserve as far as the ability of each member in that band. And Phil is, in my opinion, as good a drummer as Alan White of Yes.
Sure, of course.
And I mean, no disrespect to Alan, but Phil just doesn't seem to get his due. Yep. And how does that sit with them? I mean, do they ever vent about that? Like, Geddy Lee's getting press again. Here's Billy Greer, not getting anything.
Well, one of the funny things is back in 2000, we did a full summer tour with Yes, where we opened up for them, and it was their Masterworks tour. And their set list consisted of fans writing to them, suggesting songs.
Wow.
So we played 60-minute set, and they would come out there and they played 2.5 hours. But the 2.5 hours were 6 songs. I mean, so literally 6 songs. And just from the reviews from friends and fans and stuff, Kansas blew Yes off the stage pretty much night after night.
The fan opinions.
Yes.
Cool.
And there was actually a show in Columbus, Ohio, and they opened up with Close to the Edge. And Yes got so lost in the middle of the song, they actually had to stop.
Wow.
And it was the first time in Yes history, John Anderson came out and said it's the first time they've ever had to actually stop in the middle of a song.
Wow.
But I mean, all those guys, you can't say enough about Yes. I mean, they're great. They always have been.
Right.
Back in the days when one song was an entire album side.
Exactly. Exactly.
I got to, you got to give them, I mean, if I were a musician, I don't know that I could play like a 40-minute song and remember where exactly it is I am.
And they're complex. I mean,
the time signatures, that was the hard part with them.
Exactly, because a lot of it's just really all over the place.
Yeah.
So, man.
Speaking of great albums, Rainbow Rising is our 9 o'clock Night Rock Spotlight album featuring the great
Classic
Richie
stuff.
Blackmore and Dio on vocals on that. Good stuff. You know, we were talking about the benefit concert that was happening in November. Again, Bernie Glimm and Country Roads Band played there. Kansas played there. Hartsfield played there. Ara played there. And then we all got up and jammed. Well, sadly, not everybody in the room that had a whole lot of talent got up there and jammed. I was there with Pamela Moore. She is Sister Mary of Queensryche, and she came out and threw her support at this benefit as well. And but yet she did not get up and jam with us, and I'm not quite sure why.
She would.
I was too. So we'll have to play something from Pamela now just to represent
I think
her.
she's probably feeling a little intimidated by the...
I don't know. The guys in Ara threw a shout out to her. They played Silent Lucidity and they dedicated it to her because they knew she was in the crowd. But Pamela is living in the region now. Actually, I think she's still in Seattle. I got an email from her the other day and she was there for the holidays. But from her Stories of a Blue Room, this is Dive Into Me. Pamela Moore on the X1039. The Rock of the Region, X-Rock 1039. Dive Into Me. Great talent there. Pamela Moore, better known to the heavy metal world as Sister Mary of Queensryche. She's a great talent on herself, or on her own, I should say. 3 albums out, and that's her latest Pictures from Blue Room. And Dive Into Me. Good stuff. She was the gal that showed up with me, made me look good.
There you go.
At the benefit concert.
Absolutely.
She was out there to show support for all the great local musicians out there, and Eric's mom and Eric's family. And just a great time out there. We didn't get her up to sing, though. That was the sad part. But the good part is she got to meet your dad.
That's right.
And he runs Dungeon Studios.
That's correct,
and does a lot of great production work. And she's looking for someone to produce some of her new tracks with her brand new band. And I guess we're going to team them up together.
Great.
So that should be kind of cool.
That'll be fun.
Maybe you can come in and play some drums on there.
I'd love to. Be
that
honored.
Would be fun.
I'd be honored.
Now, you were telling me off air that you actually met Pamela Moore before the benefit.
Yes, I met her in Los Angeles when we played at the House of Blues, Kansas. And she looked really familiar. So I walked up to her and I'm like, hi, my name's Eric. She introduced herself, and it turns out we know the same people. We both know the drummer for Paul Rogers, who lives in Seattle where she is. And his name's Jeff Cathan. And I totally forgot about that, but I brought it up to her at the benefit. And she remembered exactly when we met, so that was kind of cool.
Wow, she's a great gal. I love that gal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the record, she is so far the only Night Rock celebrity guest who's actually baked us cookies.
That's true. That's true. And she had Tom and Lisa on the cookies. Remember, she took the, whatever you call that stuff,
the
icing, and wrote that Night Rock 1039.
Brought us homemade chocolate chip cookies.
God,
yeah, good
girl.
stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, she made cookies for us 2 weeks ago, Paul. I forgot to tell you.
Oh,
but
great.
we got snowed in because it was that bad snowstorm.
Yep. We all got buried.
We weren't able to be here. Thank goodness Scott Rosenberg was barricaded in the studio by the snow drifts, and he was able to do the show for us. Otherwise, Night Rock wouldn't have happened at all. But Pamela called, and she was unable to be with us that night. So we're going to reschedule her for sometime, I believe, in late January. And she's going to bring some of her new band members down, and they're going to play acoustic for us. And she's going to bake more cookies, and we're going to have another party with Pamela Moore. Pamela Party.
I love it.
So stay tuned,
She's
and
fun.
I'll be announcing that during the afternoon drive as well, when you can check out Pamela Moore on the Night Rock Show. Okay. Website? Anything we need to do before we say goodbye? Eric?
Yeah, go to kansasband.com. That will tell everybody where we're playing, somewhere in the States or in another country, perhaps. And go see Bernie Glimm and Country Roads. They're playing, I think, tomorrow night at Gaelic Park out in Oak Forest. We're actually where my mom's benefit was.
That's right.
And I'd like to say hi to my mom and dad and to Christina.
Who's Christina?
Christina is my friend from Chesterton.
Is that the girl that was out there Friday night?
Yes.
Blonde?
Yes. She came in her scrubs from work.
Yes.
She came from over there at St. Mary's in Hobart.
All right. Very good. You know what? Speaking of Bernie Glimm and Country Roads, even though it says Country Roads in the name, and they are somewhat a country band, they also really kick out some good rock and roll. They're one of those little bit country, little bit rock and roll bands, which is why I like to hang out with them, because I like country, but I really like rock. And I'm going to be working with them once a month over at Shelley's in Griffith.
Cool.
They are going to be doing some advertising with Night Rock, and we're going to have a couple of Night Rock parties. And it looks like I'm going to be out there hosting shows with them at least once a month at Shelley's on a Saturday night. I think it's the third Saturday every month, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that.
Sounds like fun.
I'll be telling you a lot more about Bernie Glimm and Country Roads, and don't let country scare you, because they do know how to rock and roll. They even played Love and Spoonful the other night. I mean, they dug all the way back. They play the Woodstock, so they play everything.
Yeah, well,
good stuff.
Your dad was not. Your dad is a rock drummer.
Oh yeah,
back to the Yes Band. Yeah, the
and
drama.
he played with Ara and
Ara. Yeah, he sure did. And he's done his own studio albums, solo albums a couple times too. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
so check it out. Bernie Glimm, Country Roads. Listen up for Night Rock. You'll be hearing more of their stuff, and you'll be hearing where to go party with us out at Shelley's in Griffith. There, it's right on. I think it's Main Street. It's right off of Broad there. Right over by Dynamite Music, right around the corner there. So check it out. All right, speaking of Kansas, we're going to leave you with one more Kansas-related song. Then we're going to come back with something completely different. And we're going to say goodnight to Eric. But Streets, tell me about Streets, guys.
Streets was a band that Steve Walsh formed after he left Kansas in 80. And that's where he met Billy Greer, who is now Kansas frontman bass player now.
All right, and Steve's back in the band again.
Steve is back in the band, yes.
So Streets is kind of like Kansas Light in a way.
It was very commercial rock. They had 2 albums out. They did a couple tours. Actually, their first tour, major tour, was opening up for Loverboy. So that's kind of how they got their big kick. So
I remember seeing Loverboy open up for Jim Carroll Band and the Boomtown Rats at the Aragon. They were an unannounced opening act. They came out and they had their little red leather things on, and Michael Reno had the headband on. And now, mind you, this is the Boomtown Rats and Jim Carroll, people who died, punk rock guy, heroin addict, and the crowd there just literally ate them alive. They threw everything that wasn't nailed down at poor Loverboy. And I remember going back to the hotel with Paul Dean, the guitar player, and he was pretty much devastated. It's like, we waited for our first American tour, and this is what we get. But again, they were mismatched, so nothing against Loverboy. They were a good band.
I saw them open for some big all-day rock festival in St. Louis, and they were pretty good on stage.
Yeah, they were good.
Yep.
They're great guys.
Here's Streets. It's Steve Walsh, Billy Greer of Kansas, back when they were going a little bit commercial and hanging out with the Loverboy boys. The Rock of the Region, X-Rock 1039. If love should go, it's Streets on the Night Rock Show. Our special guest has been Eric Holmquist. He's a percussionist drummer with Kansas. And Streets features 2 of the Kansas members, Steve Walsh and Billy Greer. And Billy Greer is a really nice guy. We had him on the show the same day we had your dad on here, Eric, and to support the benefit. And he was telling me at the gig, at the benefit, he goes, did I do okay on the air? I'm like, yeah, you were great. Why? He goes, well, the wife and I had popped open a bottle of wine, and we were about 3/4 done with it when you called.
It was his wedding anniversary.
It was his wedding anniversary.
Is that what it was? Because he told me he was a little bit in the bag, and he goes, man, I was worried about it. He goes, here I am live on the radio, and I got, 3/4 of a bottle of wine in me. But I told him he did a great job, and he's a very personable guy.
He was great. He always has been.
First time I ever got to meet him. And I've met Richard many times, a guitar player, but
Rich is a great guy, too. I mean, they're all really good guys. They really are.
David Ragsdale is a funny man.
Oh, yeah.
He was cracking me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have that persona on stage, but off stage, he's a card. I mean, he was telling like, all these little off-color things and having fun with it.
Yeah,
He's a
David's
good
great.
guy.
Yeah, they're all really good guys. I mean, everyone's got to get to know the true people as opposed to
The rock image.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they showed their true colors by coming out here to the region and supporting one of our very own, the Holmquist family. Neil, the dad with Bernie Glimm and Country Roads, also the owner of Dungeon Studios that does a lot of work here with great local talent.
Night
And
Rock.
Eric, his son, sitting here with us with Kansas. And your mom, of course, doing hopefully much better.
Yeah, she's doing good. She's doing good.
I hope the holidays were good with you guys all together.
Yes, actually, my middle brother drove up from Florida from the Air Force and surprised.